the reason my business of training students at Zell is surviving and in fact flourishing is because of one major application, one major piece of software technology, and it's become sort of a fan favorite for most people, most businesses across the world during this pandemic. And of course, I'm talking about Zoom. Today I'm going to talk to you guys because all of us have, in some form, most of us I would say, have used and touched Zoom within this pandemic. I thought it's a good time to explain you guys how Zoom came up, and most of us would know that there was a very close clone of Zoom called Skype. The Skype was the first one. Zoom actually was the clone of Skype. So today I'm just going to tell you about 3 reasons why Skype failed and why Zoom soared. So let's get right into it, right? First of all, you should know that the pandemic, right, while it came, quite suddenly, technology companies are always used to change. There is a very famous or very popular quote in the technology world which says that the only constant in technology is change. So these guys are always prepared, always looking at a much shorter time horizon to make certain decisions. So they were sort of ready, like for example, they would be able to anticipate that okay, it's time we need to build our infrastructure, because if the pandemic does hit, as China was starting to get affected, Zoom people thought that okay, if it does hit, we'll actually have an increase, a spike of surge of usage of our app. So they started really building into infrastructure and they were ready. So just for you to know, right, in March, right, before the pandemic sort of really, went global, Skype was mentioned in 51,000 articles because people are already starting to use it slowly. 51,000 articles Skype. Zoom was 60,000. So Zoom was a little higher, 51, 60. In April, Skype from 51 went down to 50,000. Zoom went from 60,000 to 195,000 articles in which they were covered, which just meant the amount of people who were using it rose significantly because Skype was ready and because Zoom was ready. And why was Zoom? What happened with the planning that they had? They ensured that when the new traffic was going to come on their servers, they ensured that the load time, the fact that video quality could reduce, it could slow down the technology, all those things, they basically ensured that they had solutions ready for it when the demand soared. So if you and I use Zoom, we are not really worried too much about the lagging and about low quality, at least compared to almost all other technologies out there, especially Skype. We would any day prefer using Zoom. Plus, they went and did certain smart tweaks. Like for example, if you're paying on Skype on Zoom, you used to have that. Okay, even if you pay, you can only have 100 users on Zoom. As the pandemic started, they increased that 100 to 300 because they wanted the premium users to stay on their platforms. They started giving better services. So somebody who's paying Zoom would not go even if they had 150 customers, because 150 participants, because Zoom has started allowing the number of people now. Same way, they focused on artificial intelligence. So if you use Zoom, you'll know that okay, if there are 4 people talking, whoever talks, okay, that screen will sort of appear, or that screen will get highlighted, that person's screen. So these are the kind of things that Zoom innovated at the right time to ensure that we guys would be sufficiently happy and comfortable using Zoom. Skype did none of this as such. So if you had to choose, when we had to decide, by the way, at Zell, when the pandemic and we had to decide, okay, we are not going to be able to conduct classes online for a long time, what should we do? We had a few options. Skype, of course, was one of them. And we tested all, by the way. We tested Skype, we tested Zoom, there's something called GoToMeeting, there is WebEx. We tested all, we tried some, and logically came down to the fact that Zoom seemed to be the best. Right? So that's the reason why, unlike us, so many millions and millions of people across the world have chosen Zoom. Second, there were certain poor strategic decisions that were taken to Skype. This is more of a Skype issue, right? Now, for y'all to understand, Skype was originally founded in 2003 in Sweden, right? In 2005, 2 years later, it was bought over by eBay. I've spoken about eBay in another video as well, okay, the PayPal Mafia video. And after a couple of years, so it was bought in 2005 by eBay. In 2006, the actual video conferencing tool was introduced. Till then, Skype was not a video conferencing tool as such. In 2006 it came. 2006, that means 5 years before Zoom. Zoom was founded in 2011. So Skype had video conferencing lead of 5 years. After that, it was sold back to some private investors, and then finally Microsoft bought it in 2011 when Zoom was founded. Now, guys, when Microsoft buys a product, you expect it to really do well with it. So, but obviously it didn't, and that's the result, right? So there are a lot of reasons. The transfer of so many owners, when it went into Microsoft, what was happening is that time the social media trend was picking up. So Microsoft said, let us make Skype a social media platform. So they introduced relatively useless features such as emojis and stuff, which was, they were trying to then suddenly compete with Snap and with Instagram and just trying to make it Microsoft's social media platform. So that didn't really help them. Plus, if you're already such a successful company, you believe that, okay, the name of Microsoft alone will ensure Skype sort of takes off in the market, and it did. If you know, the dictionary actually thought of adding the word Skype in the dictionary. I mean, the thought was to add Skype in the dictionary, because how often back in the day would people say, let me Skype you? So it really, Microsoft was able to get it over there, but then complacency and just bad decisions in the higher level management, not able to see the competition better. It just sort of ruined the chances. Whatever Skype had with Microsoft just plummeted. And the third reason is basically the stark contrast between Skype and Zoom. Guys, Skype, again, I'm sure most of you have used it. While it's good, right, it does its job, but it had a lot of issues. It had a lot of bugs, right? Like I said, there's relatively useless features of emojis and all, not really required for the work of video conferencing. If you guys had Xbox or PlayStations, when you play, the ads of of Skype would come over there, and they just try to make a lot of changes to the app which was not required. And obviously, if the customers don't need it, you still give it, and it's not going to be used. It's not what customers want primarily, which is speed, quality, ease of efficiency. Like you have to download Skype and things like that. So Skype did. Simultaneously, if you see Zoom has made it frictionless, hassle-free. It said that, okay guys, look, you don't need to download the app. You can just, if you have the app, great. Otherwise, you can do it through a browser. You can just send links to friends. They don't need to download it. There can be an option for password. There doesn't need to be. It just was so easy to use it, right? You can record, you can share screens, you can have different backgrounds to ensure that if you're, it's too casual but you want a formal environment, you can do that. You can brand your own company behind you. So there were a lot of benefits that Zoom gave. So that's the reason that if you see the contrast, Zoom clearly stands as a winner, right? Even though Skype was there much before. So these are the three primary reasons why we feel that Skype really failed when Zoom was picking up. And just to leave you guys with a fun fact, again Rashesh found this, that when the pandemic hit and people started using Zoom, there were actually two companies, public companies under the name of Zoom in US. The Zoom which we use and another one. The other Zoom, actually, people thought that was the one which we use, and they got so many shares that the price soared by 1800%. Till the SEC had to come and make sure that, okay guys, this is the Zoom shares which you all are buying is not the Zoom software which you all are using. So they came and then they sorted it out. And now, of course, after banning a lot of Chinese apps, so the Zoom founder, while he's an American, he's a Chinese American, another name Eric Yuan, to counter the whole Atmanirbhar philosophy, right? Geo basically introduced GeoMeet, which is an almost replica of Zoom without Zoom restrictions such as the free one in Zoom. If you use it for free, you can use it for 40 minutes. There are certain number of restrictions with participants. All of that goes away with GeoMeet. So that is just for you to know, just as a holistic understanding that GeoMeet is new. It was literally announced a few days ago. And yeah, we'll know if GeoMeet even overtakes Zoom, just the way Geo is basically doing for everything. So I hope that this video gives you an understanding that no matter where you come from, Microsoft being Microsoft, you can still lose if you're not agile, if you don't listen to customers, if you don't predict the future accurately, or if you become complacent and you try to just compete with big players because you want your name to be there. So I'm a big fan of Microsoft, but it did Skype wrong, right, when it could have been the winner. So I hope that this makes complete sense to you all and gives you all an understanding that this is how technology as an industry works. Even if you have nothing, you can beat a Microsoft giant.